Hello, grade 10. Do you still remember me? That's right. I'm Ma'am Carla, your tender-loving English teacher broadcaster. How are you doing? Great. I'm happy that you're all doing well. And I could feel your excitement for a lesson today. But let's review first. What did we study last time? Very good. We studied about textual aids in understanding texts. And we learned that textual aids are educational instruments that simplify comprehension of texts. Now, I want to see if you could still remember them. What textual aid is this? That's right. This is a Venn diagram. What about this? Correct. This one is a bar graph. And this one? You remembered! This is a concept map. What do we call this diagram? You got it. This is called flow diagram. I know this one is very obvious. This is a... Yes, obviously, this is a fishbone diagram. Today, we will discuss about plot, setting, and characterization. The appraisal of the unity of plot, setting, and characterization in a material viewed is important to identify and understand the author's purpose. For us to achieve this, let's dig deeper to know what these elements are. Let's start with characterization. Characterization is a writer's tool or literary device to develop characters and create images of the characters for the audience. And speaking of characters, these refer to persons, animals, creatures, or things that serve as actors or movers in a story. They are the ones who portray specific roles with corresponding plot lines and dialogues. Oh! Do you know what a dialogue is? Let's explore what it is through this story clip. Goodbye!
Okay, Fox. Goodbye.
And now, here is my secret. A very simple secret. It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye.
You are right. What is essential is invisible to the eye.
It is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important.
It is the time I have wasted for my rose.
Men have forgotten this truth, but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. You are responsible for your rose.
Yes, I am responsible for my rose.
What is essential is invisible to the eye. Oh, what does this line mean? Yeah, this means that the true nature of things can only be seen and understood if one recognizes it with the heart. Or we could say that it is what a person feels that is the most important, and not just what he sees. Keep that in mind. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Now, going back to the story clip, notice that it is a conversation between the little prince and the fox. And that's exactly what a dialogue is. A dialogue is a conversation between two or more characters in a work of literature. It can either be written or spoken. It's a writer's very useful tool in any story. Its purpose is not just to give voice to the characters, but also give color to a story, as it can create a conflict, progress a plot, and so on. That story clip is from the poetical tale called The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. If you're familiar with this novel, you would know that it has many characters. But obviously, the only characters that we have from the clip are the little prince and the fox. Remember, a character can be any person, figure, animal, or inanimate or lifeless object in a story. We'll know more about characters in our next discussion. But let's move on to plot first. A plot is the sequence of events that makes up a story. It shows how the story develops, unfolds, and moves in time. A plot is made up of 5 elements. First is the exposition, or also known as the introduction. This basically refers to the beginning of the story. This is usually where the important background information, such as the characters, the setting, and the main conflict of the story are introduced. For example, there was once a little prince who lives on a small asteroid called B612. He believed that he should take care of his home, so he always cleans it. He spends his time maintaining his 3 volcanoes and pulling up the baobab trees that grow underground for the fear that it might engulf his tiny planet. There, we met the main character and understood where he is from and his usual activities to protect his planet. Let's find out how the story will move. On to the next element of a plot. Second is the rising action. This is the part of the story where the characters begin to experience crisis and face conflicts. A conflict can be any form of struggle that the main character faces. There may be only one central struggle, or there may be many minor obstacles within a dominant struggle. One day, a seed mysteriously grew and blossomed into a flower, a beautiful rose. The little prince had never seen a flower. "You're so beautiful," said the prince. "I'm going to water you every day and shelter you with this glass globe at night. I will call you Rose." The little prince fell in love with the rose, and the rose loved him too. They were together all the time. However, since the rose constantly demanded for the little prince's time and attention, he was annoyed and decided to go on a trip around the universe and left the rose behind. Continuing with the story, we see how the conflict arises when the little prince doubted his feelings for the rose and decided to leave her to find new friends. The third element is climax. It is the turning point and the most exciting part of the story, where the main character faces a major enemy, fear, challenge, or other source of conflict. What do you think happened to the little prince now that he decided to leave the rose and his planet? Let's see. When the little prince arrived on the first planet, he met the king, who had been living on his own for many years. The moment the king saw the little prince, he said, "Finally, I have someone to rule now. From now on, you will be my servant." And so, he started giving him orders. But the little prince was not used to taking orders from anyone. "This man is not my friend, because friends don't give orders," he said. So he decided to leave and go on his journey. On the next planet, the little prince found a vain man who was totally well dressed. The vain man said to the little prince, "Great! Now I have someone to admire me." Then he grabbed his mirror and asked the little prince to tell him how good looking he was. But later, the little prince realized a true friendship is not based only on praises and compliments. Again, he left and went on to the next planet, where he saw an old man who was reading books. So he asked, "What are you doing, old man?" "I am a geographer, and I study and write about the mountains, hills, rivers, oceans, and the deserts. Please tell me about your planet so I could write about it," the geographer replied. The little prince remembered his planet. He started talking about the volcanoes, the baobab trees, and his rose. "Wow, that's incredible! But I'm afraid I can only write about the ones that last forever. I'm so sorry. I cannot write about you and your rose," said the geographer. The little prince felt sad. With a heavy heart, he immediately left the geographer's planet. So he went to the earth. At first, he thought the earth was nothing but an ordinary planet until... "What are you doing here?" It was a wild fox. Wow! That's quite intense, right? So at this point, we've watched the little prince face different conflicts on his quest to find new friends. And now, something major development of the plot is about to unfold. Let's continue with the next element to see what will happen next. And that is the falling action. Falling action is the event when the story begins to wind down and the complications start to fall into place. The little prince was shocked when the fox shouted at him, "Hi, I am the little prince. Can we be friends?" he asked. The fox answered, "Only if you tame me." "What does tame mean?" The little prince was confused. To tame means to establish ties, to create a bond. The fox replied, "Or else, you're just like the other little boys to me, and I don't need you. And you don't need me too, for I'm just like other foxes." "I think I know what you mean," said the little prince. "There's a flower. I think she has tamed me. And oh, I missed her so much." The little prince realized how unique the rose was to him, even though she was stubborn at times. "My rose is my true friend, and she needs me," he said to himself. Notice how things wind down in this part. We witnessed how the little prince tamed the wild fox and later on befriended him. He also reminisced his happy moments with his rose. But let's find out what the ending of the story will be. The last element of a plot is the resolution. This is also known as The
denouement,
resolution or
denouement,
is the final element of a plot. This is the final outcome of events in the story. Resolutions are not always happy endings. They could be tragic and entirely unexpected too. Are you excited to know what happened between the little prince and the rose? Okay, listen carefully. Yes, my rose needs me, and I need her too, the little prince said. And so, he decided to go back to his volcanoes and his baobab trees, and to his planet. When he saw the rose, he hugged her tightly and whispered, "I will never leave you again, because I am responsible for you. I love you, my rose." Yes, he was back to his planet, where he and his rose lived happily ever after. Oh, how sweet it is to be loved by the little prince. A wonderful ending, isn't it? That's what a resolution is. It's basically the outcome of the story that could either be happy or heartbreaking. But whatever it may be, a good ending should most importantly surprise and satisfy the audience's curiosity. Again, plot, also known as storyline, includes the most significant events of the story and how the characters and their problems change over time. Drawing a plot diagram can help you visualize the story and get a clearer picture for where the climax is. What tensions you'll need to have in order to build up this turning point, and how you can offer a tight conclusion to the story. Again, they are exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution.
denouement,
Once more, a plot is the organized series of events that make up a story. Now, let's talk about setting. Setting refers to the time and location, or when and where a story happens. When examining how setting contributes to a story, we have to consider the following aspects. First is place. Place, or the geographical location. This answers the question, where does the action of the story take place? Second, time. Time refers to the historical period, time of day, year, and others. This answers, when does the story happen? Third is weather condition. Weather condition is the atmospheric state in terms of temperature, wind, clouds, and precipitation. Is it rainy, sunny, or stormy? We also have social conditions as the fourth one. Social conditions is the writing that focuses on the speech, clothing, mannerisms, and customs of a particular place. This responds to, what is the daily life of the characters like? Finally, we have mood. Mood is the general feeling or atmosphere in a story that is created within the audience. This answers, what feeling is created at the beginning of the story? Now, get your self-learning module and answer Learning Task 5 on page 17. Identify what is asked in each number. Write only the letters of your answer in a piece of paper. Number 1, characterization is letter A, the central message in a story. B. The problem in a story. C. The process by which a writer reveals a character's personality and qualities. Or letter D. The color of the character's costume. Number 2. The setting of a story may be best defined as letter A. The conflict or problem in the story. B. The point of view of a story. C. The time and location in a story. Or letter D. The series of events in the story. Number 3. What is it called when a reader has to infer what the character is like based on what he says, thinks, or does? A. Direct characterization. B. Indirect characterization. C. The author's message. Or letter D. Point of view. Number 4. What does the term plot mean? Letter A. The final outcome of the story. B. The sequence of events in a story. C. The beginning of a story. D. The high point of the story. Number 5. Which of the following statements is the best definition of climax? Is it letter A, the point of highest tension in a story? B, the conclusion of a work of literature in which the conflict is resolved? C, the introduction of the characters, setting, and conflict in a narrative? Or letter D, the series of events in the story? You have 10 seconds to complete your answers. Checking time! Number 1. Characterization is correct. It's letter C, the process by which a writer reveals a character's personality and qualities. Number 2. The setting of a story may be best defined as right. That's letter C, the time and location in a story. Number 3. What is it called when a reader has to infer what the character is like based on what he says, thinks, or does? If you answered B, you're right. It is indirect characterization. Number 4. What does the term plot mean? Did you say B? Excellent! It's the sequence of events in a story. Number 5. Which of the following statements is the best definition of climax? Yes, you got it! Obviously, the answer is A, the point of highest tension in a story. Did you get a perfect 5? That's the way! High five! Keep in mind that the appraisal of the unity of plot, setting, and characterization in a material viewed is important to identify and understand the author's purpose. For your assignment, answer Learning Task 4 on page 17 of your self-learning module. Always remember, learning English may be difficult at first, but if you put your heart in it, you will surely love it. Again, I am Ma'am Carla, Heart Your Service.